Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're all well. Video advice, name of the channel, one of 3.7 million subscribers. This video's had 2.3 million views. The video is called The 1775 Bible Proves We Live a Lie. So, a fella here has got a really old Bible. I've actually got one myself that my dad kind of left me when he died. Real old, about the size of this book as well. I don't think it's 1775, but it will definitely be 18 something. So at some point today, I might have a lot of look at that and see if it's what year it is, if I can get a year, and if it's got a similar sort of crack in it. Because I do know, to be honest, that everything you're about to be told here is true. Um, for instance, the day of worship in the Bible is actually Saturday, not Sunday, and it was changed. And the Jewish still have the Sabbath on the Saturday, and that is the correct day. We worship or celebrate on the Sunday, which is the wrong day. And it was changed, and a lot of other things. Again, there should be 13 months, not 12. 13 months of equal days, not 12 months of erratic random days. So all this has been changed on us and is all wrong, and we're all out of sync with the Lord, or the God, if you want, is the way of looking at it, and why it's all been changed. So that this is another deception in many ways. Another deception. I mean, I'm quite a strong believer, as many people will know, that the whole word Jesus is a deception. The man was called Yeshua. So again, I might be wrong, but for me, we're calling a man by a completely different name. There is no connection to the original name. Yeshua, Jesus, sound nothing alike. So again, with all the other levels of deception going on here, as we will find out in a moment and in the future, um, yeah, I'm taking the whole Jesus thing as part of another deception, a very good one, a very clever one, a very long-standing one, perhaps. But at the same time, the majority of people do not know that Sunday is not the day of worship; it's Saturday, and that's quite well known. Do you know what I mean? The Jews still do the Saturday, so that's well known, but the majority of the world don't know that. So the whole Jesus name thing could also be a deception. I could be wrong, but I'm personally not taking the chance. Do you know what I mean? Not taking the chance. He wasn't called Jesus, so I'm not calling him that. It's that simple. So now it's this 1775 Bible proves we live a lie. So let's have a little bit of this.
This 1775 Bible shows that March is actually the first month of the year, and Sunday, yes, you heard right, is the first day of the week. Take a look.
And so this right here is the Bible from 1775 telling us at the time that we used to have 13 months. The first month of the year is March. Look at all the way to the end, guys. There's 13 months. 13 months. First day of the week, Sunday. Second day, Monday. Look at that. Seventh day or Sabbath, Saturday. This is the proof right here.
I've always been a curious soul, but not in the way you'd expect from scholars or historians. My explorations take place from the comfort of my own home, often late into the night, guided by the soft glow of my laptop screen. This is how I ended up watching a video by Mark Pyers on his channel Mark Inspires. What I discovered there sent me straight down a rabbit hole. Mark presented an old Bible from 1775, and it wasn't the antiquity of the book that caught my attention, it was the content. The month of the year is March, and each week begins on a Sunday. I paused the video. Sunday as the first day? March as the first month? That's not what any calendar I've ever hung on my wall has shown. The curiosity in me sparked. I wondered, if what I was looking at was true, why did everything change? Who decided to flip the script and shift the months around? And why does it feel like we might be out of step with the rhythm that was once so ingrained in our culture that it was worth printing in?
Sorry to interrupt there. I'm just gonna go back to that building.
Rhythm that was once so
So, yeah, 1775 Bible proves we live a lie. So, Well, it got me thinking really as well. Because I've been watching quite a few things on the prospect of Tartaria, a lost civilization, and I'm not 100% on it, to be honest, but I do kind of think that a lot of people have got a point when they're pointing out in America that some of the buildings don't really fit the time. Like you see all this ornate detail in this church. Like it's absolutely unbelievable, to be honest. And we don't make anything anywhere near like this anymore. It's like we can't in many ways, but then if we can't make these things now, what the hell's gone on here? So it kind of, I don't know. It's just for me. There's a lot. Like look at this. Look at the state of this building. Look at it. It's absolutely beautiful. We go in all these churches of old and absolutely ornate buildings, of the likes of which we've never seen, and we just can't seem to build anymore. We don't build them yet. These people in the past had no trouble whatsoever knocking up the most beautiful buildings that literally will last the test of time here. Um, and we just can't seem to build them anymore. We have to put glass and metal up everywhere, whereas these lot are using granite and all sorts. And look at the ornate features and the carvings on every single block and item, and you know what I mean. So to me, there's a lot in this Tartaria thing, but at the same time, how it's sort of conjunct, sort of connecting here to this, because according to 1775, everything was still in the right way, if you know what I mean. We knew that Sunday was the first day of the week. We knew that Saturday was the Sabbath. There was 13 months that began in March. We knew all this then in 1775. So between 1775 and let's say 1900 and something, let's go to the First World War perhaps. So let's say 1911, 1912 in that region. Somebody's changed the calendar by the looks of it in that time. We're not talking Roman times here. If 1775 Bible is telling us the way of things, you would suggest that was the way of things in 1775. So between 1775 and now, somebody has changed all this round on us. At some point, somebody's changed all this. Now, you would think in order to do that, for it to work and everyone for it to take, you would maybe need a cataclysm of some form to wipe out the majority of the population. And when you're left with a smaller population, start to indoctrinate them onto the new calendar would make more sense than just everybody in the world switching to this new calendar because they've been told. Because we're talking times when we didn't have mobile phones and we didn't have TVs and all this sort of thing, so we couldn't do this synchronized round the world resetting of the clock while we're all on the phone to each other. If everyone sort of sees what I'm saying, it's very different times. So how you would implement a worldwide change of the clock today would be very, very simple, to be honest. Today would be very, very simple. We're all connected. But in 1775, to reset the entire clock, it's a whole different kettle of fish. How is everybody going to take to this now? If there was a cataclysm of sorts, this would maybe make a bit more sense as to how you could change a calendar for everybody on the world. Plus, we have this problem of everybody building these buildings, not just this one, many, 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 many buildings that we shouldn't have been able to build. Like, and if we could build this back then, what the hell are we doing now? Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's like all these parts, because they're all identical. Even these are identical to each other. Everything's identical in the thing. It's like they're prefabricated somehow, like molten. They've somehow got molten stone. I mean, that's probably a better option than somebody's literally carved every single one of these identically, well, for the entire building. It just makes a lot more sense to me that it would be like prefabricated. But again, that's not something we were doing, which would suggest we didn't build these buildings. We found them, and we just inherited them, took them over, and pretend we built them. Is probably a better theory than we built them. Like, 'cause again, look at the detail in everything, absolutely everything. So again, it's for me this Tartaria thing. It's got a lot bit of backing, to be honest, because we seem to have been building stuff that we couldn't build back in the day. And then we have this talk of 1775 Bible proving that the calendar's been changed. So in that period, people talk of like the 1800s, the early 1800s, there was some sort of cataclysm that pretty much wiped the earth out again. And we started again in the 1800s, and from the 1800s, it hasn't took us long to get where we are. It's not as quite a long of story as people are saying. And people talk of a mud flood, and we had to dig all the buildings out, and there is kind of some evidence for that in places. But the main thing for me is just there seems to be buildings that are so fantastical. Like, I mean, the Vatican is another example. Go and look at the complex of the Vatican and the pillars and all the pillars in the courtyard, and look at the how detailed it is and how big it is, and it's kind of unbelievable in when you really start thinking about it. How did we build all this stuff? And then we go over to America, and we're building these buildings in America. Apparently, the minute we get there, like literally the minute we get there, we're knocking up buildings of this caliber, like with the state capitals and all the courthouses and all these kind of things. They're all knocked up pretty quickly when we get there. It's not like the state capital and everything was knocked up in modern times. No, while everybody was still living in wooden huts and the Wild West was going on, these people were knocking up the fucking state capital and all these kind of buildings at the same time. It kind of doesn't make sense. It really kind of doesn't make sense, to be honest. Like that. That's the thing. It's like there's no ultimate proof, but it kind of doesn't make sense that we were knocking up buildings of this caliber in the past, and we can't do it anymore. And it's always got a similar design as well. We've got pillars with ornate features at the tops of every pillar. You have multiple things like this where everything is identical with unbelievable carvings in them. I mean, this is the world over. These buildings exist, yet we do not build them anymore. We have no real details of how they were built. There's no pictures of them building them, really. And there's no explanation as to who's carved all this off, who's done all this. Do you know what I mean? I mean, on this particular building, I'm not sure which church this is. I mean, this could be the Sistine Chapel for all I know. And that could have been Michelangelo that painted the roof, do you know what I mean? Well, there we've got an explanation. A fair dues. Michelangelo painted it. But who carved all these? Every single one of these pillars, every single little piece is. Look, even these side bits here, absolute detail in all the arches and everything, even the under arches, carvings in the under arch. It's quite unbelievable, really. Now, don't get me wrong. We had probably very good stonemasons back in the day, but again, everyone's identical, no imperfections at all in any way. You would think that people using chisels and hand tools would eventually make mistakes, but everything's perfect. Everything is absolutely identically perfect from what we can see. So the questions need to be asked. To be honest, that's kind of where I am. That we've got a 1775 Bible saying that time was different 200 years ago, or just over. And now we have a completely different calendar 200 years later. And again, there's a lot of buildings built in that time period that we just seem to be too good for what we were doing. So no proof is forthcoming in this video anyway about Tartaria and this whole conspiracy of a lost civilization that's not even that long ago. But it just seems very strange to me, and just connecting dots together here. Again, somebody's changed the timeline in the last 250 years. And we've got all these kind of buildings that they claim, especially in America in particular. A lot of these American buildings, like the state capitol and the courthouses and all these castles that they were building. But at the same time, everybody was building wooden shacks, and it was the Wild West was going on. And I mean, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense, to be honest. But there we go. That's that crack. Tartaria, another one. As I find decent evidence for it, I'll bring it forth. I did see a good video last night about a building in Chicago that's been renovated for no reason whatsoever, and all the detail like this was taken off it. And now it just looks like a modern day sort of skyscraper, but before it had all this or no detail and a big dome on the top, and they removed it all for no reason in particular. They say it was a fire, but the fire was about 50 years before they actually removed the dome and everything, so it just doesn't make sense. A lot of it just doesn't make sense. It's as if somebody is trying to cover something up. But this sort of links into it, that the timeline's been changed here since 1775. The calendar's been changed on us. So what happened for that change is one of my questions. If you can't just implement a worldwide change of the calendar, especially back in them times, how would everybody know? It doesn't kind of make sense. You'd have to sail all around the world on boats and tell everybody, and by the time you got there, you wouldn't be on the right day anymore. So it seems a bit far-fetched in many ways that would be even a thing to be done, and how would you do it in them times? So, yep, just strangeness. I mean, remember, we've only been here a very, very short period, me only 45 years. And even our parents and grandparents, we're only probably talking 100 and odd years. So, does anybody know their great-great-grandparents and their crack and their parents? And the answer's probably no, like we don't. So, it all gets lost in time, doesn't it? It all gets lost in time. Anyway, we'll crack on with 1775 Bible.
Ingrained in our culture that it was worth printing in the good book itself. It was like finding a piece in a puzzle that I didn't know was missing. The more I thought about it, the more questions arose. What if the holidays we celebrate, the ones we've been told were based on ancient traditions, were actually aligned with a different rhythm, one dictated by this forgotten calendar?
I mean, it's well known to most people with a brain at this point that Christmas is a pagan festival. It's absolutely well known that Christmas is a pagan festival. It's got nothing to do with Yeshua, Jesus, in any way, shape or form. He was not born on the 25th of December. In fact, we probably don't know the exact date he was born, to be honest, because the calendar was different back then. They've changed the calendar on us at least twice since that time. So the calendar was completely different. So pinning down an exact date of Jesus is kind of impossible because we weren't even using the current calendar. So yeah, but it's well known Christmas is a pagan festival. It had nothing to do with the birth of Jesus. It's also in the dead of winter in December. According to the Bible, the shepherds were tending their flocks by night. While the man Yeshua Jesus was born, you do not tend your flocks in the middle of winter. So it definitely wasn't December. It definitely wasn't December the 25th. And that has something to do with Nimrod, Nimrod's birthday, or Nimrod's son's birthday. Also bringing a tree into the house, a Christmas tree, that is against God. It's also something to do with paganism. It might be explained in this video in a minute, but again, the whole bringing a tree into the house and cutting a tree down and lavishing it with gold and silver it was originally in the day is all a pagan festival to do with Nimrod, and maybe explain that in this video, I don't know.
Take Christmas, for instance, often said to be a rebranding of pagan festivities. If we were following this old system, where would that leave December 25th? Would it hold the same meaning if it didn't coincide with the winter solstice as neatly as it does now? Could this alternative arrangement of time affect not just holidays, but our everyday lives? I'm not an academic with a wall of degrees, but that night, I felt a responsibility to learn more. There was a sense that by understanding the past, by peeling back the layers of changes and adaptations, I might find something essential. Something about how we connect with the universe, with each other, and how we find our place within the cycles that govern our existence. And so, I began a journey, one not through dusty library shelves or ancient ruins, but through the digital realm of information, armed with a newfound determination. I was ready to see where this old Bible's tale would lead me and what it might reveal about the world we think we know so well. That Sunday might actually be the starting point of the week necessitates a serious reconsideration of cultural and religious norms. It presents the startling idea that the day we traditionally dedicate to rest and religious observance could indeed be Saturday. Such a perspective carries weighty implications for contemporary religious customs, hinting that widespread practices might not align with this historical viewpoint. Astrologically, the impact of such a shift cannot be understated. Each day's energies are traditionally tied to a celestial body, which, according to astrological systems, can influence human affairs. Misalignment between our constructed week and this celestial ordering might disrupt the intended flow of cosmic energies into daily life. For adherents of astrology, this calls into question the very foundation of their practice, suggesting a need for a thorough reassessment of how days and their corresponding planetary energies are observed and honored. This raises the fundamental question: who was it that altered the configuration of our week, thereby altering the fabric of our lives? The catalyst for such a change is not immediately evident. It may have been an incremental process influenced by the shifts in religious and secular authorities over the millennia, or it might have been an intentional move to distance contemporary practice from ancient traditions.
One of the things Constantine did was because he wanted the pagans to worship God, Jehovah, was he moved the day of worship to the day of the sun, which is why we now worship on Sunday, because Sunday became a pagan day.
One thing is clear: there seems to be a deliberate discrepancy between our current temporal structure and that of historical records, though the motivations behind this are still veiled in mystery. The departure from the calendrical structure as outlined in the 1775 Bible could imply that many facets of our daily existence are misaligned with both historical precedent and perhaps celestial design. This misalignment extends to significant dates of observance. The timing of festivities such as Christmas and Easter, for instance, might not truly reflect their original intent or season. Contemplating a realignment with this historic calendar suggests the possibility of returning to a way of life that is more authentic, perhaps closer to spiritual principles that have been overshadowed over time. It prompts us to consider whether a shift in observance to align with historical records could reconnect us to a spiritual authenticity that has been eroded. This discourse is not merely about adherence to religious rules or speculative astrological theories. It centers on our alignment with the natural and cosmic order that may predate contemporary calendars. Choosing to follow this route is about much more than date correction. It's a quest to uncover a harmony with the natural world that may have been lost. As we delve further into the contents of this ancient text, we have to wonder what further insights they may offer, and in what ways these could revolutionize our current understanding of time, spirituality, and our place within the cosmos. This exploration is not only fascinating, but has the potential to be profoundly life-altering. The 1775 Bible, which intriguingly outlines a calendar year starting with March and comprising 13 months, hints at a bygone era's intimate dance with the cosmos. This historical artifact opens a window to explore how our ancestors perceived time and its connection to cosmic energy and planetary alignments. Historically, calendars were not just tools for marking days, they were intricately linked to the movements of celestial bodies. This relationship was seen in the meticulous attention early civilizations paid to the skies. The enigmatic Stonehenge is a prehistoric testament to this, aligned with the solstices, points in the year that mark the sun's most extreme positions in the sky. In the context of the 1775 Bible, the shifted calendar may point to a forgotten alignment with natural cycles. If March marked the new year, it coincided.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's we should be so much more. Is a way of putting it. We should be so much more, and what we are, we've forgot, and what we had, we've lost, and yeah, we should be so much more. And people, evil people who still run the world to this very day, have changed everything and in effect knocked us off. We have no clue why we're here, what we're doing, and that's not the way of things. And yeah, it's all been changed on us, and it's all been not taught to us. And the real world, yeah, the real world for many people, well, they will never know the real world. They believe that the current reality that we're living in is the real world, but it isn't. It's a delusion. It's a deception. It's all been changed on us to make us go the wrong way, it would seem. And it's worked. It's absolutely worked, and it's took hundreds, if not thousands, of years to do. But it's been done, and this is kind of the proof of it, that everything got changed on us, and we should have lived in harmony with nature, so to speak, but it's all been kind of knocked off by messing up the calendars, messing up the times, not telling you anything about all this. It's kind of the way of it. And yeah, it's again the whole day of worship. So again, just for the atheists, say everything be true. Say the God be true. Say the Yeshua be true. Jesus be true. But everybody's doing everything wrong. Everybody's doing everything wrong. You're worshipping on the wrong day. Like everything that God said, God's way, God's order, it's all been broken. Everybody's doing everything wrong. Again, Satan's world, it's been broken on purpose. It's been broken for you. Long before you got here is kind of the tale, but broken nonetheless. And the real world, reality, and how spiritual we should be, it's all been turned off. It all got knocked off on us because we don't know what we're doing anymore. We're not in the right place at the right time, following the right things, and it's all been deception again. The great deception is another word for it. The end times and the great deception of everything, and this is very, very much part of it. So the calendar's wrong is what's being said. I mean, this is a bit of a fact already, to be honest. A lot of people do know there is supposed to be 13 months and not 12. That's your first starting point. It is well known as well in many circles that Saturday is the Sabbath, not Sunday. And that was changed also, as he said there. So these little facts are known by a lot of people, to be honest. But ultimately, they all work to a bigger fact, and that bigger fact is that we were all knocked off, is a way of putting it. Everything we knew and everything that was about the world and the connection to the world and the animals and the nature and everything and harmony, it all got knocked off. And that's why we live in absolute chaos, as everyone can see. We live in a world of chaos. And half of that could be completely to do with we're in disharmony with God. But there can be no denial, really, that we live in chaos. We live in chaos. And the further we go from God, the more chaos we seem to get as well, is another way of things. And basically, the end times, again, I've said in previous videos, it all ends in fire. So again, the further we go away from God, the further God gets pissed off at us. So it's maybe a point we need to turn back. So very interesting to me yet again. History is fascinating to me. His story, though, as I've mentioned before, his story. Whoever decided to tell us it, so you've got to dig through all the shit. Again, like with this Tartaria and these buildings, there's something amiss there for me, but I can't quite put my finger on it. As a lot of people can't. What the hell happened in the early sort of 1800s after this time, 1775? Something seems to have happened where they've switched the calendar on us again, because this Bible's saying the calendar as it should be in 1775, so you would kind of think we were following that calendar at the time. Maybe not. It may be just telling you the way things should be in that Bible, but the way I was sort of reading it was that's how things were being done back then. But maybe not. Maybe it was changed a long time before this, as he says there. The problem with history is we don't know, because it's whoever wrote it down and just decided to tell us that version of events that we get now. So you've got to kind of dig through history and decide what's true and where. And it's very difficult, to be honest. Absolutely very difficult trying to figure out history, because we weren't there. None of us were there. We have to go off what we can see and hear, and it's very difficult, as I've said. So let's have a little bit more of this.
With the vernal equinox, a time of balance when day and night are of equal length. symbolizing renewal and rebirth in many cultures. This could suggest a time when people were more in tune with the rhythms of nature, aligning their lives with the equinoxes and solstices which were critical to agricultural societies. The choice of a 13-month calendar could also reflect a closer alignment with lunar cycles. Traditional lunar calendars, used by cultures like the Hebrews, base their months on the moon's phases, resulting in a year of 12 or 13 months to maintain synchronicity with the solar year. This system is rooted in the observable energy shifts that accompany the transition from one lunar phase to another, which ancient peoples believed influenced agricultural and human cycles. Furthermore, planetary alignments have long been observed and respected. The 7-day week is an enduring legacy of such celestial considerations, with each day corresponding to one of the 7 classical planets known to the ancients.
So I'll just have a quick look at this before he takes it off. So Monday, Moon Day, pretty obvious to be honest. I mean Sunday, the Sunday and the Monday are quite obvious to be honest. Moon Day and Sunday. So Tuesday is Mars, Wednesday is Mercury, Thursday is Jupiter, and Friday is Venus, and Saturday is obviously Saturn. So they're the planets and the correlation to the days. Some of them are more obvious than others. Some make it obvious that that's what it is. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are kind of the obvious ones, that the name kind of matches what you're being told. Saturday, Saturn, Sunday, the sun, the moon, Monday. Them ones are kind of obvious. The other ones not so much. But the 3 that are obvious kind of allude you to the ones that the other ones are true, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? That is a way of looking at it. The fact that they don't match the name of the days is irrelevant, but it's kind of the 3 that do match is a way of sort of saying that this is what's going on here. So yeah, the days correlate to the planets and things we should have been doing on certain days, as we said, with the Saturn and the Saturday and the worship, and not on the Sunday. So yeah, the calendar's been changed is a big thing. It's, again, I think a lot of people know this, to be honest, but just to kind of, for the people who don't, do you know what I mean? And you're always trying to get your foot in the, like, again, it's, I used to be an atheist, as I've said many a time, and you don't know where to start and to where you put your foot in the door, and you know what I mean? And all I'm trying to do really is, like, the truth is, I don't know anywhere near enough really to really be teaching anybody anything. That's the other side of it. I don't really know enough in my mind, but I know a lot more than somebody who knows nothing. So another way of looking at it is, if you always know more, then you can be a teacher of sorts in ways. But I don't claim to know everything. I'm on a journey of learning, the same as everybody else is. We're just kind of going together as well. It's like, but I set another way of looking at it is I set off a long time ago on this journey, and there is so much to learn and know. It's unbelievable amount. It's absolutely an unbelievable amount of knowledge to be learned in all of the world, basically. Well, I just set off a long time ago, and in doing so, obviously I'm further ahead down the road because I set off earlier. Is a good way of looking at it. So anybody behind me on the path, I can kind of maybe help them and lead them to some information, something they didn't know. They could then maybe open up other doors that they could go down. Do you know what I mean? So again, I never claimed to know everything, me, to be honest. Again, on this level here, I wasn't ultimately aware that Mars, Mercury, Jupiter and Venus were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. I wasn't massively aware that they were the orders of the days. I was aware of Monday, Saturday and Sunday, but the other 4 days weren't. I haven't retained that knowledge. I probably won't again now. That's the thing. I've seen them here in front of us. We've said this. But because there's no correlation to connect them massively, I might remember Jupiter as Thursday because Jupiter's kind of my planet, being Sagittarius, and Thursdays seem to be quite good days for me sometimes, so maybe that's a correlation. But apart from that, I'll never remember Mars, Mercury and Venus, and again, I would have to come back and learn this again to know them. It's just something that doesn't log. And it depends what you remember. That's the other side, what logs in the brain and stays and retain the information is another side of it. So Yeah, I don't claim to know everything at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to help in many ways, trying to help that there's information out there that a lot of people necessarily don't know. And I've passed it before in my journey down this long road, and I'm aware of it, so I'll bring it back to light again. It's good for me to learn it again. That's the other side of it, to refresh the brain. And again, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, I wasn't totally aware of them days, so it's good to refresh the brain. But anybody else, again, me personally, I just like educating myself. To be honest, I like learning things and understanding how things worked and how what went on. And again, history is fascinating to me, absolutely fascinating, because ultimately it's a lie. Like, our history that we're told is a lie. So you're always trying to piece together what the hell's gone down here, you know what I mean? But there's a lot gone down, and yeah, it's very interesting to me what's gone down, to be honest. So that's where we are and what we're doing. And in terms of all the Bible and everything, and just trying to, again, it's a very, very complicated subject that a lot of people don't want to approach, and it's been made to sound fantastical, like Harry Potter, in many, many ways, and it is in many, many ways. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. And if you take all the miracles and stuff out of it, which I don't really tend to focus on a lot when I'm thinking about this, you just get back to the essence of the tale. And you can find a lot of evidence in the world that some of this was the crack. Do you know what I mean? As a lot of people know who've been following the channel and followed the information and stuff about giants and floods, and there's very much proof that there was a worldwide flood. Every culture has the talk of this flood. There is proof all over the world, including on the Sphinx, that's got watermarks that there's been a worldwide flood. There is literally pretty much evidence for this. People, some call it the Hunger Dryas period, or whatever, however you pronounce that. But there is proof of a worldwide flood, absolute proof of it, and every culture speaks of it. So there is some truth in the book. Do you know what I mean? There's a talk of a massive flood. Well, we've got proof of a massive flood here. I mean, there is for me as well. But most people, some people won't believe it, but for me, Noah's Ark is on the top of Mount Ararat in Turkey, and multiple people have found it in the last 50 years, and multiple people have claimed that that is Noah's Ark. And we've done multiple tests, and tests have been done. Turkey declared it Noah's Ark, the official site of Noah's Ark. So for me, I'm going with that is Noah's Ark on top of that mountain, exact mountain where it should be. It's a fucking boat that's thousands of years old. It's petrified under the earth. That's Noah's Ark right there. Again, look into it for yourself. But for me, that's Noah's Ark. So there's proof of the tales in the Bible. You know what I mean? There's proof of these tales. We just live in a time as well of deception. So you can't have people, like, I mean, I say you can't have angels flying around, but we maybe still do. That's maybe where all these UFOs are, all these lights in the sky. It's not metal craft at night, those lights. It's entities of forms. Again, this is, I mean, what angels look like will blow your fucking mind, to be honest. What angels look like will blow, according to Enoch, I believe, who went to walk with God, and seen the angels. What angels will look like will blow your fucking mind. When they're not in human form. Yeah, that will absolutely blow your mind. So let's move on. We'll keep going with this. Me waffling on about the fucking Bible and stuff that I probably thought I'd never be waffling on about, but here I am, and this is what we're doing. So let's crack on.
The 1775 Bible's depiction of Sunday as the week's first day underscores this connection, resonating with the sun's position of primacy in our solar system. The study of the calendar in the 1775 Bible might reveal more than a mere historical curiosity. It may uncover a lost understanding of time that honored cosmic energy more explicitly than our modern system. It opens questions about how this alignment affected societal behavior, religious observances, and the general worldview of the time. Pagan traditions with Christian holidays is a topic that stirs much debate, especially when we delve into the origins of Christmas. To understand this amalgamation, we need to travel back to the early centuries of Christianity. It wasn't until the 4th century that the church officially proclaimed December 25th as the birth date of Jesus, a date that conveniently coincided with the Roman festival of Saturnalia and the pagan celebration of the winter solstice. These festivals were times of merrymaking, social reversal, and, most importantly, celebrating the return of the sun, Saturnalia for the Romans and Yule for the Germanic peoples. The church's decision to place Christmas during this festive period may have been strategic, easing the transition for converts by allowing them to continue their traditional celebrations, now under a Christian guise. But the question remains, was Jesus actually born on December 25th? Historical and scriptural evidence suggests otherwise. The Bible does not specify a date for Christ's birth, and some scholars point to clues that indicate a spring birth. Shepherds tending to their flocks, which they did during lambing season, a time quite distant from the chill of December. Moreover, the choice of date for Easter, which follows the lunar cycle and the Jewish Passover, reflects a more astronomical and scripturally grounded approach to determining a significant Christian event. Why, then, did Christmas break from this pattern? It seems that the early church fathers were less interested in historical accuracy and more in the symbolism of light overcoming darkness, aligning Christ's birth with the rebirth of the sun.
Well, another thing Constantine did was move the day of Jesus' birth to December, because Tammuz died on December 23rd. And it was believed, because Nimrod, his father, was a hunter, it was believed that Nimrod would be reborn in his son Tammuz. And his son Tammuz's birthday was December 25th. And what you would do on Tammuz's birthday was you would set up a tree. Deuteronomy 16:21. You shall not plant for yourself any tree as a wooden image near the altar which you build for yourself to the Lord your God. It was believed that in order for Tammuz to rise again as his son Nimrod, you'd have to go to the tree, you'd have to cut down a tree from the forest, and you'd have to put balls on it. And the balls were symbolic of testicles. The tree was symbolic of a phallus. Jeremiah chapter 10. Look what it says. Hear the word which the Lord speaks to you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord. Do not learn the way of the Gentiles. Do not be dismayed at the signs of the heaven, for the Gentiles are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are futile. For one cuts a tree from the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with an axe. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers so that it will not topple. I hate to bring you bad news.
The calendar delineated in the
Yeah, I hate to bring you bad news, but the bad news is that Christmas trees are not the way forward here, and never been the way forward. They're actually real bad indeed. You might be done in for that. You might be done in for it. It is forbidden by the Lord God. Stop putting trees in the fucking house. So, yeah, that's the crack. And, yeah, the calendar's wrong, Christmas is wrong, Christmas trees are wrong. All these things we do are wrong, which, again, we live in the time of deception here, so it should be no surprise, really, that everything we do is wrong. The calendar's wrong, the worship day is wrong, everything is wrong. So, again, it's kind of an explanation as well as to why we live in chaos. We do live in actual chaos now. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. It never gets any better. Because we don't live in sync, we live out of sync, and the more out of sync we get, the worse it seems to get. In many ways, is a way of looking at it. But yeah, that's kind of the crack. Christmas trees are nothing to do with God in any way, shape, or form. And putting them in the house and decorating them to do with Nimrod's son, as you said there, and yeah, very interesting to me. Very interesting because as well, these are things, again, Christmas and Christmas trees are something that the majority of people, I haven't put Christmas decorations up. I haven't had a Christmas tree personally, ever, I don't think. I don't think I've ever personally had a Christmas tree. Where I've currently lived for nearly 20 years, I've never, ever had a Christmas tree. I've never put Christmas decorations up in the house I live in, not once, not in 20 years. And a lot of people would say, bah humbug, to people like me, but ultimately it's because that bar humbug cracks. Again, programming for you to turn on the people who aren't following the wrong ways is a way of putting it. So it's not bar humbug at all, to be honest. It's that we know the crack and you fucking don't. And you're doing everything wrong, and we're trying to do things right here, and all this Christmas bullshit's bullshit, because it's nothing to do with Jesus or anything at all. So you can say, oh well, we're just doing Christmas and giving presents and stuff. Yeah, but ultimately you're worshipping a festival of sorts. Whether you like it or not, you are taking part in a satanic or pagan festival. Whether you like it or not, that's what you're doing, and it's forbidden by your Lord God, who may not punish you right now, but down the line you could be getting a bit of beef for this. You could be getting a bit of beef for all this, because ultimately it's not paying attention. It's the other side of it. Again, those who have the eyes to see, those who pay attention, those who look for the truth. You can get the knowledge, because the knowledge is out there. It's all out there. All the truth is out there, but you have to dig through a lot of stuff to get to it. But it's a well-known thing that Christmas is pagan. That's well known, to be honest. But I don't think people know the detriment of celebrating it, and think, again, because atheists don't believe in a God, they don't believe that God will punish them for doing the wrong thing, is another side of being an atheist. So, well, we are doing and have been doing the wrong thing for quite a long time here, and it's not any fault of our own. It's been done to us, but the proof of the pudding for me is we live in chaos at this current time. We've lived in chaos for a while here. So yeah, the harmony is gone. The harmony is gone. I just thought it was very interesting. Good video advice. There is more to it, and again, I won't play it all. This video is long enough. But there's more to the video, and the channel could have more good videos on it if you want to go and subscribe and like the video, or watch the rest of the video, whatever. But yeah, I just thought I'd give it a mention. 1775 Bible proves we live in a lie, and all the calendar's wrong, and Christmas is wrong, and everything's wrong. And it just, yeah, thought I'd put it out there. There you go. Peace. Do with it, as forever, what you will. Peace.